Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the General Policy Committee meeting of the Gainesville City Commission for this Thursday, July 23rd. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, we have the adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as printed and distributed. I see no lights. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passed unanimously with Commissioner Decken Walker absent. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, we have the approval of the minutes with the recommendation that the General Policy Committee approve the minutes from the June 11th, 2026 meeting.
Let's do that too. I'll move that.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the minutes as printed and distributed. Is there any public comment on that?
There's no public comment.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes, it passes unanimously with Commissioner Decken Walker absent. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, we have 2026-507, overview of CivicPlus LLC for DocAccess and Agenda Board Management Software Services. With the recommendation, the General Policy Committee hear a presentation and take any action deemed necessary. And if you give me a moment, I'm going to go to the podium.
Very good. For most people watching, you probably don't notice that there is a system that we contract with that keeps the minutes and the agendas in place and just organizes all this stuff for us. And every now and then, we have a conversation about which system to use, and that's all under the clerk's office. So, Madam Clerk, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commission, Kristen Bryant, City Clerk. Today we're going to have an informational discussion about the new system, CivicPlus, not only the agenda management system, the board management system, as well as a new tool we're bringing online, DocAccess. And first, I do want to give a just grateful sentiment to all of the departments that have been working with me on this project, procurement, our legal department, and especially our general government IT folks who are sitting in the audience. It has been a collaborative effort, and I've been really grateful for everyone's support. All right, so we have the first program that we're putting on is Agenda Meeting Management Select. Currently, we use eScribe, and many of the same features exist between the two systems. We're going to go over a few of the differences and kind of see some screenshots of what it looks like. Some differences for highlights, though, are we have much more customizable templates. So when we're looking at what we want our agenda to look like, we can add features, we can streamline things. The system itself is very streamlined. I'll go over some of those features. And then one of the really cool tools that's coming back is online sign up for speaking to agenda items. So that'll be very nice. All right, so go into our first screenshot. For our staff who put on agenda items for meetings, this is going to be important to them. So this is the item template. Looks very similar to what they use now, so it's not going to be a terribly different styled system. We have titles, short names, item numbers. Some things to note is over on this left or the right-hand side here, all of the meeting details are right there, so they know exactly which meeting it is. In the current system, it takes you to different screens, and you have to kind of input this information multiple times. This is going to be streamlined, which will be, help cut down time putting agenda items in. Also, at the very top bar, the properties are there. And again, in eScribe, properties were on a separate screen. Here, you can adjust properties right from the same page where you're building your item. Our next, that was the top of the item form. This is the bottom. The really cool part that I like as a manager of the system is the item category up here. So I can run reports. So if we want to know how many ordinances you all passed in 2025, if we had the system then, we would be able to run a report based on the item category. Right now, we kind of have to do a filter system, and there's some manual work involved, and so it's not as streamlined to run the report. So that's going to be a very nice feature. Some of the terms are going to change. So we see things called executive summary. That is the description that we currently use. Official body, that's the explanation section of the form. So we will do some training with staff about using some of the new terms between the two systems. This is, one of the important parts is the public portal. So this is what one of the portals could look like. Again, it's fully customizable. So we'll be able to add features, take things away that we might not be able to use. Some of the highlights here are on the left-hand side is an more easily navigable calendar. Right now, you really have to just backspace through all of the months, and it's kind of clunky. So this is, drop downs, you can kind of get to dates you're looking at much more easily. The searching is up here at the top. Again, we'll have a little bit of different terms. Right now, we call our meetings, this is the meeting type City Commission regular meeting. In CivicPlus, it will be event categories. So we'll have to do some training about some new terms. But when you click on the date, it has this very easy to read list of the different meetings based upon your searching. Search functions are much more robust. You'll be able to search caption files, which is not currently able to be searched, so that's going to be a nice feature. When we get ahead, I can show a list of search results. When you get the search results, it tells you what type of document has that search term you're looking for in it, so you'll know if it's an agenda, if it's minutes, if it's an attachment, if it's a caption file. It will be able to tell you that, and so you can better understand the document you're clicking on is the thing that you're looking for. As I mentioned before, we will have an online sign up for agenda items, which streamlines the process for me in the back. So when we have 20, 30 people show up for a comment and I'm leaning on my staff and we're trying to coordinate, it's going to be much easier because people can add themselves into the system before the meeting. And then when the meeting starts, we can add them into the meeting as it goes. And it's, again, much more streamlined because we don't have that feature currently with the eScribe. Another good thing is you can subscribe to agendas. So when somebody, for instance, is interested in historic preservation and they would like Historic Preservation Board agendas, basically an alert saying something was published, you can subscribe to that agenda and it will, at least an alert will be emailed. I have to double check if they actually email automatically the agenda, but they at least will get an alert. One thing that still is not the feature is the alerts we used to get under Legistar, where you could put in housing and they would send you an email anytime an agenda was published with a housing term, but we're working with CivicPlus to potentially bring that feature. So that's still in process. As you view current videos as they are happening with meetings through the system, or if you're going back to look at videos, this is what it will look like. Again, much larger screen for the video. We have a lot of features over here about sharing the videos, which we really didn't have shareable videos from the website under eScribe. And then instead of timestamps, we have bookmarks, which will take you to the exact place in the video from the agenda. So you can click on, like here, it's the approval of minutes item is highlighted, and that's where they are in the point of the video. All right, here, this is very small, and I apologize, I couldn't get a better view, but this is just what it will look like and this is the internal view for searching. So under eScribe, everyone used the public portal. We have a much more robust searchable system on the internal side. On the internal side, it will list the user-created names. It will have when it was created, so it gives you a bit more information. On the public side, that is not there. But it does have on this side over here, that type I was talking about. It's a little light, but it has items, attachments, agendas, and so it gives you a really good picture before you even click on the item that has your search term of what you're opening. So it gives you a good robust amount of information. All right. With the agenda management system, I wanted to pause real quick and if there was any questions. All right. So onto the advisory board module. Again, a lot of the same features. I will say eScribe had a real, bare bones board module to manage the applications. CivicPlus is a bit more robust. One of the major issues with the eScribe system is we could not have applications that were tailored to each individual board. And so we had the application, and then we had a separate form that if the board had, like for RTS, if we wanted to know what their background, if they were in one of the categories from the ordinance, we had to have that in a separate form, and then both of those had to be kind of combined on the internal side. Here, CivicPlus provides a board module that's fully customizable per board. So we can just have that built into the system, which is very nice. When we look at it, this, I believe, is Palm Beach's boarding commissions. So this gives you an idea. It looks nice. It has a streamlined feel to it, simplified, easy to use. When we look at the profile, I just chose one here. We have, obviously the name, sort of the all of the profile, the terms. It's set out, I think, in a little more clear format, as well as something I couldn't include because I didn't want to put another city's board members up on our screen. But if you visit, you get to see each board member has a profile, and it has their term, and it's laid out in a nice way, so you're very clear about who's on the board, what term they have, when that term may be ending. All right. And then moving on to the new tool we'll be using. So DocAccess is something that CivicPlus has had over a year. We were initially looking at them. Hold on one moment. We were looking at them because we already contract with them for a couple different products. So if you know MuniCode, that is where our Code of Ordinances is published. And being able to go with them for the agenda management system, the board module, as well as this DocAccess tool, it's been able to afford us some significant savings across the three products. With DocAccess, this is not something that's just applied to the clerk's office. This is a system program that goes into our website, and it helps all of any website that's associated with the city to become compliant with the DOJ WAG2 standards that will become enforceable in April. We needed to have a plan for our website, and this, while we work on making sure all of our documents are accessible, we can use this so that it ensures that our website and all the web content is accessible as well. It does not change any documents. Just want to make that clear. So if there's, we're going to see a video here in a minute that kind of demonstrates the tool. But if there's something that you need to use this little switch and it transcribes it from a PDF into HTML, which is just basically allowing it to be read by screen readers, you can then, it doesn't change the underlying document. So we're not creating new documents using the tool. One note on the last bullet, it talks about offering translation of web content. We are still under IT review of all of these processes, so we just want to mention, we want to make sure of the accuracy of all of these features. And with that, broadcast, if you would show our video.
Take a look. With DocAccess, it works simply by changing all of your PDF links automatically to open in the DocAccess viewer. And the DocAccess viewer shows the print-friendly version that people would expect, and then it shifts over to a transcript view. It's a full text interpretation and summary of the PDF file, everything from tables, handwriting, and more. Let's take a look at some challenging documents, because people say to us, oh man, you can't deal with my document. Well, let's see. We always love a challenge. Here's a document that has lots of photographs on the cover. Now these photographs in transcript view are written out so that somebody who can't see understands exactly what they're missing in the photos. Let's look at this handwriting. What are we going to do about this? Fortunately, DocAccess, instead of requiring somebody to type in all of the handwritten notes, just simply translates it. Take these complicated images that are dark and difficult to read of a plaque with some information. DocAccess transforms it automatically to a CAG 2.1 AA HTML that's readable. Even take, for example, a map. Normally, something like this can't be transcribed, but with DocAccess, we'll even make a best effort transcription to describe the streets, the boundaries, and the general area so that somebody who cannot see visually can still get a solid idea of what is going on in this image. Even take things like these headings. They're in all capitals. Well, I remember a case where somebody from the National Federation of the Blind was saying in Colorado that she had to read a wildfire evacuation notice one letter at a time because it was written in all capitals, and her screen reader thought it was a giant abbreviation. This is terrible. So in DocAccess, we made sure that every title, even if it looks all in uppercase, actually under the hood is in mixed case so that it's always read properly. But there's more. In DocAccess, you get a document outline, which understands the entire scope of the document, can jump you around with semantically valid heading levels. You even have the ability to ask a question. So you want to know, how much more did we spend on this area than last year? DocAccess brings you an answer immediately. The most important thing, though, is that we don't rely on any technology when it comes to bridging an access barrier for users with disabilities. That's why DocAccess is proud to partner with IRA, the leading visual interpretation service. We provide free access to documents for anybody with a disability or who just needs help reading and understanding. Check it out. Right built into DocAccess is the ability to connect a live interpreter. And these live interpreters are awesome, and people in the blind community rely on them all the time, whether it's picking out ripe fruit at the grocery store or figuring out that elevator that doesn't have Braille. Well, we're proud to be the launch partner with IRA to bring this to your entire community. With DocAccess, you not only transform the PDF experience, making it mobile friendly, you also bring this incredible capability to your own organization with advanced analytics and understanding. Now you can find out what are your most popular documents, what are the most popular pages, what questions are people asking, what languages do people speak. We know that your documents are where you spend so much of your time and energy. What better way to honor them than with DocAccess?
All right, so with that, that concludes my presentation, and I'm eager to answer any questions.
Commissioner Chestnut.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, as you said, it is a very, very robust system, and I can see why you would want to change. I'm just concerned about the difference in price,
Sure.
and will your budget be able to accommodate that?
Yes, so apples to apples, when we are comparing the eScribe agenda management system and the board manager in eScribe to CivicPlus, there is a significant reduction using the CivicPlus system. Now we are adding the DocAccess piece for the entire city, so my office is funding that from my budget. And I have been able to, account for that in the budget process. So that what has been presented to you all as the city clerk's budget, it accounts for the extra cost of DocAccess.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Chestnut. Commissioner Willis.
So we're going to kind of kill multiple birds with this stone, something that is needed in the evolution of city government and access,
Yes.
So it's needed somewhere, but this kind of wraps it into the same software as opposed to having something else that we have to screw on to our systems that can be wonky when you have these legacy systems. All right, that makes sense to me. I like the idea that people can subscribe to agenda because some of our commissions, boards and commissions I think they have some like diehard followers, and that would be really good. Or people who are thinking about joining a board, because then if they could kind of keep up with it for a couple months and go, oh no, this is, yeah, I could do this, you know, this is of interest to me. So I think that's good. And then so I am interested in how the liaisons, so will they be kind of in this software as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, it'd be very similar to the board manager that we currently have. They will have access to be able to update, review the applications, update key details of their board, and manage the rosters. So it's similar to what they do now.
And is it a little easier to forward a link to just the page? 'Cause
Yes.
I find in our current system, if someone says, tell me about the Parks and Nature Centers Commission, it is kind of hard to say like, go here. It's kind of deep in the system, so it's hard for me to just send a link.
Broadcast, could you put the presentation back up? We'll give them a moment. Okay, so if we go back to the screenshot of the video, over here, there's share meeting. And what that does, it'll bring up a form for you to be able to email the link to the meeting to your constituent.
Okay. Well, we only videotape plan board at this point, right?
Well, it's not,
So if there's
even
not
if
a
there's,
video, it should
even
be a
if
very
it's not a
similar,
video, yes.
kind of similar layout.
Yes, so whatever, because it's linked to the agenda and whatever documents are in the backup of that agenda item, it would send that full agenda to the person.
And then just like and I'll go look at Town of Palm Beach. I'll probably answer some of the questions.
We have multiple cities that we've been pointed to for, like, if we want, Town of Palm Beach for their board manager, but I think Green Bay, Wisconsin has a really good example of the agenda management system. So I can get certain links to you from cities. So you
No,
can
this is
test.
great. You'd be able to see like the basic outline page and say, to forward a link to somebody. In our system, it's a little
It is.
wonkier. And so this is much more like, oh, go look at this. And you can see who's on it, and who you'd be joining. And so as we communicate to our residents, about these boards. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
You're
Mayor.
welcome. And if I could add, to your point about bundling with multiple products, one thing I skipped over was with the agenda management system being linked to MuniCode, when an ordinance gets passed on second reading, it will go to the uncodified section of MuniCode almost immediately. Now, we still have to wait for it to be codified for it to show in the proper place within the Code of Ordinances. But there's literally a button in the agenda management system once the ordinance is passed on second reading to automatically send it over to the MuniCode system. And then on the MuniCode side, you can actually link back to the meeting it was passed at. So if you're in MuniCode and you want to see, this ordinance I'm reading about, I want to see what the discussion was, you can hit a button and it will take you back to the meeting where that ordinance passed. Now, it's only prospective, so it's not retroactive, so it would be just from when we adopt it onwards, but it's kind of a cool feature.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Wells. Commissioner Ingram.
I think this is a lot of great features for somebody trying to keep up with what was going on at City Hall and other government entities from outside. I can see a lot of that would make that a lot easier and more available to the public. I know a lot of translation software and transcribing software kind of gets ahead of its skis and what it can promise and what it can actually deliver. Is this being used in enough places we've got a fairly confident in its abilities to do what it's talking about doing?
It is one of the more used tools for this purpose, but I will say that both our general government information technology team as well as the GRU IT team is doing the risk assessment, which includes dealing with accuracies and things like that. So we're going to have a very good look at this before we roll that out, because we want to make sure that everything is accurate.
I think that's all I got.
Thank you, Commissioner Engel. So to be clear, Madam Clerk, this is an informational item for us, and it is well within your purview to move forward with.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Book.
Yeah, I think you've alluded to this, Madam Clerk. Talk a little bit more about the research and the efforts that led you to choose this particular vendor, and how that will benefit our community.
Well, I think like most cities, city clerks' offices across the state of Florida, we started receiving notices about the enforcement of the new WAG 2 standards that had been put out by the DOJ. And as I got more and more into it, and certainly also I do need to mention communications has been on the forefront of this as well. They've been putting out information about accessible documents and things, and kind of were the first people to make me aware that these new rules were coming into enforcement. Initially, that was going to be enforced this April, and it sort of gave us a heads up, like, oh, we really need to, get everything in line, make sure our documents are accessible, that the system is accessible. And then the DOJ delayed enforcement until next year. So it gave us a little bit more time to kind of get caught up and make sure that we're meeting those standards when they can become enforceable.
Thank you. Assuming, as the mayor said, assuming you move forward with implementation, I think the transparency and the access and the engagement and the feedback tools would be really outstanding for the way that we engage with people. So thanks for looking into it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Book. Let's see, is there any public comment on this?
There is no public comment.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Madam Clerk. Much appreciated. I'll look forward to an improved system coming up soon.
Great, and thank you all.
You're welcome. We need like a keyboard player or something for traveling music while people are moving around.
All right, Mr. Mayor, we are on to 2026-508, Funding for Local Government Area of Opportunity Project, with the recommendation the General Policy Committee hear a presentation from staff and the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee approve funding the Hope at Deborah Heights Affordable Rental Housing Project in the form of a loan in the amount of $460,000 with a 5% annual interest rate with a balloon payment at the maturity of the first mortgage and a 30-year amortization period, and authorize the city manager or designee to execute any documents necessary to such funding, subject to the city attorney approval as to form and legality.
Thanks, Madam Clerk. Welcome, Director Harris.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, to the Commission. Again, I'm Corey Harris, Director of Housing and Community Development. I have with me today Marie Massadou, who's going to come up and do a portion of the presentation as well. She's our Housing Compliance Specialist and Advocate, as well as Jamie Bell, the Chair of our Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. And we also have two representatives from one of the applicants in the room as well. So again, in today's presentation, we'll go over the role a local government plays in the selection process by providing a minimum contribution. We'll go over how low-income housing tax credits play a role in the development of affordable housing. We'll review previous awarded projects in the area, current funding sources, the current funding source of the award. Also, we'll go over the state priorities, as well as the application process that was instituted, and we will go over a brief synopsis of both applications, and then we'll go through with the AHAC's recommendation. So affordable housing, as we know, is a major crisis in this country, and each local government has a role that they can play, but no local government has enough funding to cure the crisis. And so it's imperative that as we look to leverage some of the opportunities that we have and some of the funding that we have, that we pair these with also other products and private investment. And so here, just as a brief recap, we receive funding through the state, through the federal government, as well as we have some local sources of funding as well. And so with our low-income housing tax credit partners, oftentimes they're looking to leverage what they're able to access from a tax credit standpoint with some of the local resources that we have available. So we've awarded 2 projects within the last, I would say within the last 5 years, or I guess it's probably more like 7 years. And so 2 projects that I'll mention is Arbor at Tumbling Creek. We were able to provide $46,000 as a city investment at that time. That was our local contribution. That has risen from the state to now 460 is the minimum contribution that you can provide. But that provided 64 units. It's off of South West 13th Street, right across from the Shands parking garage. And that project was $13.3 million. And again, it was a senior complex. The other one is Deer Creek, which many of you are familiar with, 62 units. We received, we as a city contributed $469,000 towards that project. As a former staff member of NHDC, we applied during multiple rounds, and we were fortunate enough to be able to secure funding the second go around. As you will hear today, the applicant, one of the applicants, they're applying for a 3rd unit row. And so again, each time you apply, and we'll go through some of the state priorities as well, but each time you apply, theoretically, it gives you an increased likelihood of being awarded these tax credits. The funding source used as a local government area of opportunity of the local contribution is Connect Free funding. Again, Connect Free funding helps to increase the number of ratepayers to the regional utility system. Also, the source of funds is through a surtax charged on a connectivity outside of the new connections outside of the municipal boundary or the city limits. And Connect Free has to be used for water and wastewater connectivity. And as you think through this, or as the various developers apply, and these funds have to be used particularly for that purpose, oftentimes we find enough costs associated with multifamily projects to be able to award those funding and be within compliance of our resolution. Here's a little bit about tax credits here that I want to just provide. You know, each year the state publishes an RFA inviting developers to apply for low-income housing tax credits. Low-income housing tax credits or LIHTC deals, or LIHTC, was created with the Tax Reform Act of 1986 and is a primary tool for promoting affordable housing and rental in the U.S. The main 2 types of low-income housing tax credit or LIHTCs are your 9% versus your 4% deals. Your 9% credits oftentimes could provide up to about 70% of the development costs. Conversely, your 4% typically only will provide up to about 30% of your costs. So as you can imagine, these projects are highly competitive when it comes to awarding these funds. This year, the state has several main goals, which are listed on the slide here. One project that qualifies must be close to the Sunrail station. Another project, they're planning to award 1 project in each of these categories, 1 project in the first 3 categories, and then 4 projects based on the last category. So 1 project that's close to the Sunrail station, 1 project where the applicant qualifies as a nonprofit entity, 1 that's in a geographic area of opportunity, and then 4 projects that have a local government contribution. Before I call up Ms. Massadou to continue the presentation, just understand that as a city of Gainesville applies for, or as developers apply from the state, we're considered a small and medium county, so we're competing with other small and medium counties for the award. It's my understanding that the Alachua County would probably have a process as well, that they will utilize a contribution as well. So at this time, I'll call Marie Massadou, who will come up with Ms. Jamie Bill to talk about AHAC's recommendation.
Very good, thank you. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, City Commissioners, City Manager, and Madam Clerk. My name is Marie Massadou. I am the Housing Compliance Specialist and Advocate with the Department of HCD for the city. And to continue on the slides that Director Harris was going over, next we have the Local Government Area of Opportunity, also known as LGAO. It is a designation used by the Florida Housing Finance Corporation and its competitive affordable housing funding programs. An LGAO designation indicates that a local government is actively supporting a proposed affordable development by providing a meaningful local contribution, which helps the project score higher when competing for funding such as 9% low-income housing tax credits. The purpose of the LGAO program is to encourage partnerships between local government and affordable housing developers. The city's contribution is $460,000 in the form of a loan funded from the Connect Free program. The city can only select one project for the LGAO. Before arriving at today's meeting, the Florida Housing Finance Corporation released the RFA draft on June 10th. Staff published the notice of funding availability on June 17th, 2026. The application due date was June 26, 2026. Staff received 2 applications for LGAO. On July 7th, 2026, the AHAC reviewed those 2 applications. The applicants presented their projects to AHAC. AHAC then scored each project individually and recommended one of them to be presented to you today. A quick summary of the applications that we received. The first one is Hope at Deborah Heights, and as Director Harris mentioned, this is their 3rd time applying, and they are located at 2001 Northeast 2nd Street, Gainesville, Florida. This project includes 96 multi-family units, and all 96 are affordable. And the breakdown of those units are 24 one-bedrooms, 54 two-bedrooms, and 18 three-bedrooms. The term of their loan is 5% annual interest rate with a balloon payment at the maturity date of the first mortgage and a 30-year amortization period. The the cost of the project is approximately $31 million. The second application is from Royal Park Seniors. They are located at the corner of West University and Southwest 2nd Avenue, and with 86 units for elderly 55 plus. All 86 units are affordable. The breakdown will be 49 one-bedrooms and 37 two-bedrooms. Their loan term is 0% annual interest rate with a 40-year balloon repayment. Their project cost is approximately $33 million. The next steps are, if the city is approved, if the project is approved by the excuse me, if the project is approved today by the commission, the applicants must submit their application. The applicant must submit their application to the state by August 11th, 2026. The state's decision is estimated by early next year. If the project is not approved by the state, the funds remain in the Connect Free program. Today, staff are asking to hear the recommendation from AHAC. The two applicants were invited to the meeting today in case you would like to hear from them or have any questions for them. Lastly, staff asked that you make a funding decision today. And at this time, I would like to introduce the AHAC chairs, Jamie Bell, with the recommendation from AHAC. Jamie has been serving on the board for many years and is very passionate about affordable housing.
Very good.
Thank you, Maria. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. It's nice to see you as always. I just want to take a moment to especially thank Commissioner Duncan Walker for her participation on our board. It's been invaluable to have you with us. Thank you. I also really want to thank Marie. She's been excellent trying to fill John Wachtel's shoes, which was a hard task, but she's been up to it, and we really appreciate her putting up with me especially. I can be demanding at times, but she's been wonderful. So her and Director Harris, as well as Ms. Fametta in the back, she's been in almost all of our meetings, and she provides a lot of really good context. So we really appreciate staff's involvement. I'm here today just to kind of give you a peek behind the curtains in our mindset when it came to evaluating these two applicants. I want to make it very clear that both of these are great projects. We need both of these projects, but the city can only provide funding for one of them in this process and is extremely competitive at the state level. And so we did our best to score these projects on equal footing, and the scores were very close, as you can see if you look through your backup. But there are a couple of key differentiators that I wanted to highlight for you. First and foremost, Hope at Deborah Heights was applying for the third consecutive year. And when you look at the guidance provided at the state level, you do get a higher chance of being selected the more times you apply. First year, second year, third year. It's almost impossible to be selected the first year, and the applicant said as much. But in the third year, the odds are very much in their favor. So that helped with our decision. The location of Hope at Deborah Heights is also a great location. We've been trying really hard to encourage affordable housing development throughout the city of Gainesville, not just condensed on the east side of town. Well, this is technically on the east side. It's right at Main Street between 16th and 23rd, and it's an extremely convenient location when it comes to accessing grocery stores, bus routes. The library partnership is right there. The church is right there. The Catholic diocese are super involved in this property, and it's just is very accessible to what the needs of these families would have. Additionally, the Catholic Charities Group has a long history of providing services in the community, and they've committed to staying very involved with the folks who move in here, going above and beyond the minimum requirements for services that are put out by the Florida Housing Group. That include a food pantry, which we were really excited about, as well as some additional financial training and mentoring beyond their on-site services. We already talked about the easy access that includes to parks, schools, both elementary and middle, and we know that family housing is something we sorely need in our community. And then also the loan terms were just the most favorable to the city, and that is a required part of our evaluation process. So that and its status with regard to permitting, there's already been a PD rezoning approved by the commission. They've had their first steps meetings, and they committed to being ready to move forward. I think they were getting permits in August. And so for all those reasons and others, we felt that the Hope at Deborah Heights projects just edged out the other community project, but we are again hoping that they come back next year and apply again. As I said, the odds will be more so in their favor with a second or even a future third application. So with all that being said, we respectfully request that you approve the recommendation to provide the $460,000 in funding from the Connect Fee program to the Hope at Deborah Heights project. And I will be here to answer any questions if you have them. Otherwise, I will defer to staff. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. So you pointed out that we are unable to pick more than one project. We have to settle on one. And I just want to ask, because I think my understanding is that that's not a financial issue. It's just that the rules of the lottery, or however this is are such that we can only move one forward.
Yes, sir. The city may only sponsor one project each year, and then the number of projects that the state chooses is limited as well to the various categories that Mr. Harris discussed.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner Duncan Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to staff. Thank you to this incredible board that I always enjoy coming to these meetings. If you have never had the opportunity to sit in on an AHAC meeting, you're missing something, because I think it's one of those crown jewels, and all of our committees are outstanding, but this group has robust conversation. This group pulls in community, and it's so exciting to see how its leadership. Jamie, no one ever questions your ability to come in. You always get nominated to make these presentations. I don't know that we've seen anybody else other than Jamie, but that speaks volumes to your commitment, and we say thank you, thank you, thank you for that. I can say that in sitting in this most recent conversation, I was so thrilled with both of these applicants. And the committee did an outstanding job of combing through all of the details of the applications, and it was very close. I wish that the other applicant was here. I was hoping that he would be able to make it. I think he did try to make it, but whatever the case may be, if he is watching or anyone from that organization, we do thank you for your application. It was absolutely outstanding, and we look forward to future applications from him. I am happy to move staff recommendation on this. This group is so capable of providing us with expert recommendations. The knowledge, the expertise that they bring to the table gives me great confidence in making that motion. And I just want to kick this off in that way to show my support for what the AHAC committee and staff have done here. So I'm interested in hearing from all of my colleagues here, but I certainly am happy to make that motion when the time comes.
Thank you, Commissioner Duncan Walker. Commissioner Engel.
Yeah, I'm also very happy with staff recommendation. The one ask I would have for the applicants, and I know that there's a lot of rules that come along with state funding and everything else as well, but there's been a lot of multifamily housing built in Gainesville over the past few years that doesn't really utilize Gainesville workforce. So if there's any way to work with local apprenticeship programs, local building trades, to make sure that we've got some jobs that come along with that. I would really like to see that as again. I know a lot of times you're having state money, there's restrictions on what you can do about requiring local people, but if there's any way to work towards that, I'd greatly appreciate it. If you need any help in that, please reach out.
Thank you, Commissioner Engel. Commissioner Willetts.
Mayor. Commissioner Duncan Walker, Mary Lou Hildreth. She's come a couple times. Don't forget her.
Oh, no, we won't forget.
She won't let you forget.
She won't let us forget either.
And I saw her in the pizza parlor the other day. Yes, Ms. Hildreth. Please excuse me.
So, this is, I guess, the third time we've done this. And so I was on AHAC one of these times when it came before AHAC. And then, and so I was looking at the score sheet, and it did, I just want to, I'll be supporting this. But remind people that one of the scoring things is about the location kind of geographically in Gainesville, and there's supposed to be a bigger consideration for basically further west, short, and particularly past 34th. Specifically, it says past 34th. I was a little surprised that the Royal Park did not score, because it truly, it truly achieves that portion. So it did rank higher when I looked at all the scores, but it didn't open up a big gap that would have perhaps. So I don't know that I agree with the AHAC's weighting of that, because some of them gave them exactly equal score. I'm like, whoa, like that's on a 10-point scale, you should be able to get some difference between, because if y'all didn't see the form, it literally says, specifically west of 34th, and so that's something I remember when I was on it, and then but the thing that kind of the diversity of unit types, to have some 3 bedrooms, even if it's 18 out of 96 for families, those 3 bedrooms really make a difference. And so, senior housing is something we have to continue to have in the mix, but that 3 bedrooms, that's what really sticks out to me. And if the third time's the charm, then that makes sense to stick with it, and hopefully we will be bringing, that resource into our community with some outside, I say dollars, but it's funding, whatever, tax credits, so. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Jamie, for continuing to serve on AHAC.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Willetts. Commissioner Eastman.
Thank you. I mean, I'll echo what other folks said. I think it's a great project. This is our 3rd year putting it forward as our LGAO. And it's, I think the numbers, the importance of us doing this right and making sure that we're picking the right people speak for itself. If we're putting in $460,000, if we get this, which I can get into, we get a $31 million project out of it, which is, a huge return on investment for our community to have affordable housing in it, near transit, near good public schools, near everything else. And I do want to give kudos to the applicant. The applicant met with me fairly early to sort of talk through what the issues were. How are we going to how are we going to get ourselves into the right positions that we are getting this money down? And I'd like to hear from the applicant at some point if that's the plan. But I just want to say, like, you talked to us early about making sure that that we're permit ready, that we have all the check boxes through, that this can go through the city. Remember when you sat with me and talked to me and you said, would you like to come up and speak? Actually, I would like to hear from the applicant.
I was going to let us get through all the lights before we did that, so yeah. That was the plan.
That's fine. I just wanted to brag on staff and brag on the applicant, but I can do that after the applicant
And
speaks.
it was
Yeah.
my intention to do that as well at the end,
Okay.
at the end of the session here. But so the way the state works, or the state Florida Housing Finance proper. By the way, my name is Adriel Cardenas, and I'm representing Hope at Deborah Heights. So the apex of your odds of winning a deal at the Florida Housing under the small medium county RFA comes after once you achieve 3 years of a returning LGAO status. So it really pays to be persistent in this process. And so last year, Florida Housing implemented a new preference, and that was permit ready. So not only do you go to the top of the list if you are a 3-time LGAO, but you also now go to the top of that little sub list if you are, permit ready. Permit ready has caused some consternation because it's a lot of money. Admittedly, we were a little anxious in making that decision whether to go forward or not. It's costed us upward of $500,000 to get permit ready with no guarantee of a deal. And so you can imagine that's a lot of money over and above what's already required for a typical application. So we're talking about a lot of money. But we made, and this is where I want to brag on the city. We made the decision about 4 months ago to pursue the permit ready status to make sure that we give our deal the best possible odds of winning an award. At the time, I think we received, this was probably late March, we received a commitment from the city staff to work hard to get the permit ready, but with no guarantees because there's a lot of conditions that come along with that. The quality of our drawings, the timeliness of our responses, and things of that nature. The level of coordination and commitment that we got from the city across all levels or all departments, the building, zoning, planning and zoning, GRU, public works, was exceptional. And I can tell you that just this past Tuesday, we submitted what should be our final round of comments, and we anticipate being permit ready next week. That's in 4 months. I don't know that many jurisdictions can achieve that. And if we get this award, it's going to be in large part thanks to the city. So in addition, I don't want to leave my folks at the housing department, Corey, Fametto, and Marie out either. They've been wonderful. So thank you, everybody. It's been a wonderful process. We're not assuming that the LGAO is approved here. We're not out of the woods completely. We still have to go to the Florida housing process or through that process. But again, we anticipate being at the very top of the list at this point, just given all the work that's been put in. So I don't know if that answers any questions or helps to explain anything, but happy to answer anything else.
Very good, thank you. So I would just say tell all your friends that Gainesville is business friendly.
I wanted to make
otherwise.
sure that I said that publicly because it really has been Ralph Hilliard. I mean, I don't want to name too many names because I don't want to leave anybody out. It's just been phenomenal. It's been a wonderful process. So thank you to everybody.
Very good, thank you very much. Commissioner Eastman.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when you first came and told me, you said we need to be permit ready in 3 months, and we think we can do, or 4 months.
4 months.
4 months. And it's like, good luck, Godspeed. Give me a call if you need any help. I can push what I can.
Yeah.
You said, you're like, well, we'll go, I was like, our permitting department will probably move things through. You're also going to have to work with GRU. We'll see. And I mean, you said that everyone across the board.
Across the board.
Has understood that making sure that we can be permit ready for our low-income housing tax credit was a priority and to our city. And so for that, thank you to city staff. And thank you to you all. This is in my district. I've had a lot of neighbors who have asked questions about it, who have sat down with me. I've come to you and asked you questions, and you have been very open to making sure that neighbors feel comfortable, that you're listening to concerns. I think this is, so thank you for staying with it and staying flexible and staying with all of this. It's been a great process.
Thank you.
Yeah. And to the, well, I get into this more, but I was just looking this up that according to this one study I'm looking at, 85 to 90% of all below market rate housing in the United States is built through the low income housing tax credit. So when we were talking about affordable housing in the United States, we were talking about getting this process right. And we got this process right this time. We need to keep getting this process right, but we're doing a lot of different things. Inclusionary zoning does a little bit. Our own funding process, like we've done through ARPA, does a little bit. But I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. This is how you get affordable housing built in the United States in 2026. And so making sure that we can continue on with this, hoping that other applicants come in and keep putting forward good, light tech proposals is important. And so anyway, thank you guys. And thank you for this stuff.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Commissioner Eastman. Is there any public comment on this before we get back to motion?
There is no public comment.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Duncan Walker, do you want to make the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move staff recommendation that we approve funding the Hope at Deborah Heights Affordable Rental Housing Project in the form of a loan in the amount of $460,000 with a 5% annual interest rate with a balloon payment at the maturity of the first mortgage and a 30-year amortization period, and authorize the city manager or designee to execute any documents necessary to such funding, subject to city attorney approval as to form and legality.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I have a question about process, and not our process, but the larger process for this, whoever is best able to answer this. Commissioner Eastman tells us that 85 to 90% of what gets built as affordable housing is through this project, which is essentially federal tax credits that are processed through the state.
Correct.
And my understanding was that there are only 7 of these that are possible for our size in our category. Is that accurate?
7 funding goals. Yeah. So.
Right.
Yeah, so the way, I think this year the state, so they'll receive a portion, I don't know if it's like $65 million. There's a formula, I think it's $2.50 per resident. And so every year the IRS allocates those credits to the state. Florida Housing then determines how they want to allocate those amongst developers that compete. So I think they allocate about 21 million, or this year for this small medium county RFA. And within that, the state determined that they have those 7 funding goals within that RFA. So there's different RFAs that have different, there's some that target adults with intellectual or developmental disabilities, others that, specific groups. But in this, there are 7 categories. I believe there's 7 categories.
And broken down by county size.
By small, medium county. So it's all pooled into one. So Dade County has their own pool.
Okay.
Then they have a large county pool, which will include everything else that you would think of, like Broward, Palm Beach, Duval, Orange,
right.
Hillsborough. And then everything else just falls into one big bucket. So there's a lot of counties and jurisdictions applying for a very small number of awards. So it's a highly competitive process. Maybe that's the best way to say it.
So it's federal money funneled through a state system.
Correct.
The state doesn't add funds to this.
Correct.
Okay.
They can in separate RFAs. There's sale funding that they have. There's live local funding that they have that they can augment. But they do that to augment. I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but I think Corey mentioned there's the 9% deals and then there's the 4%. The 4% are non-competitive. They're non-competitive because they're not sufficient to do a deal on their own. So you typically need a lot of soft funding or gap funding. The state has their own funds that they have that they can use. A lot of local municipalities have home and CDBG money that they can also use to supplement. The 9% are sufficient to fund a deal, but those are highly competitive.
Okay. So what I'm trying to get to here is we've got a state of nearly 24 million people.
Correct.
And most of the affordable housing that gets built here and across the nation is being done through this process.
Correct.
And cities and counties who are facing the very real prospect of, I am using this, by the way, as a larger example. So if you perceive that, that's what I'm doing. Yeah. Cities and counties who are facing the very real prospect of major budget cuts, major cuts to our ability to serve the people who live in our communities, including people who need affordable housing. We're the ones who are expected to fund big chunks of this. Not just the city of Gainesville, but all 411 cities, all 67 counties. We're supposed to do the funding, us and the federal government are supposed to do the funding primarily of this affordable housing. And the state acts as an arbiter, and there are other processes they have, I realize, but in this particular process, they're just saying, yes, this county gets it, this one doesn't, this city gets it, this one doesn't.
Correct.
The people who live there get it. And the state, which is a much larger funding entity, I might point out, is not only not participating in this particular process financially, but actively trying to figure out how to harm cities and counties from being able to participate in this and other processes. Just want to put that out there, but I don't want to put anybody in a bad spot. But am I inaccurate on this?
The only caveat the Florida Housing Finance Corporation is a quasi-governmental agency, and so I think they are not fully under the purview of the state. I think the commissioners, the board is appointed by the governor, I believe. I don't want to get too far into that. But so there's a degree of independence, and they do put forward sale dollars and live local dollars. I don't want to ignore that. So they do put a significant amount, but your point is valid that there is a significant role that the local municipalities play in getting these deals funded, and that's in conjunction with that low-income housing tax credit, which 80% roughly is that. Even other federal funds that come through are oftentimes tied to the low-income housing tax credit. They'll often, in their NOFAs, those notices of available funding announcements, will typically ask you to leverage other funding sources in order to improve your odds of winning. So it all ties back to the tax credit, even indirectly. I mean, it's
the state agency in question here, they don't care which local fund we take it out of. They just care that it gets funded.
Yeah, they need some kind of a neutral way of saying, hey, if you want to. So that's my understanding. The LGAO is basically the city is signaling to the state we like this. We're going to sponsor. I think is the term that was used, and that was a good term. We sponsor this project, and so that's the way that the local municipality can provide input into the process, rather than just having the state decide based on their own metrics.
Sure.
So it's a good way. Not all states do this, by the way. I've worked in other states where the local municipality doesn't have any direct role. So it's actually an interesting way to involve the local municipalities and to favor deals that are determined or deemed important to the jurisdiction.
Very good. I appreciate your answers. I'm not trying to put you in a bad
No,
spot.
thank you. I'm happy to answer anything I can.
But the fact is that as it gets harder and harder, and it could get very hard for cities and counties to provide services, this is yet another one of those services to the people who live in the community that are going to be harder to meet if we, as a people, decide that we don't want to do homestead exemptions the way that we have in the past. So I just want to put that out there. Yeah. All right, I see no other lights. I very much appreciate everyone who's been involved in this. Thank you, Mr. Barley, for continuing to be part of the solution here. I appreciate you. And seeing no further lights, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you all for being a part of this. Commissioner Eastman.
Thank you. I did want to leap off of your last point there. I didn't want to get it wrapped up in this one, but the funds that you just described are coming out of Connect Free funds. Last I checked in May, you said we had, after the $500,000 was spent for Lot 10 and for the other property, we had about $900,000 left in the pot. Is that right?
Yes, before this allocation, yes, 961 according to our calculation. So we have 961, and we've obligated 460 now.
Right.
So we will have 501, 232,000.
So we have about one more 9% LIHTC in the hopper.
Correct.
I requested back in May that we have a discussion about Connect Free and affordable housing funding. Is that scheduled currently? Do we have?
Yes, so the plan is to bring that back August 27th, I think is your GPC.
Okay. I just wanted to tie it back because we're about to have a conversation about that, and this is important because now we're literally at the very last project that we can fund out of these funds, so we have to either be very thoughtful about how that that now it's not a replenishing fund any longer. So how are we going to get more money into that, and what does that look like going forward? And so I just wanted to kind of put a bow around that. I'm glad that is scheduled for an upcoming GPC. So
And
thank you,
the
Court.
question there is, another way of asking that is, how will we help GRU get more accounts?
Yes, I mean, we could certainly work with GRU to convince them to bring Connect Free back, but I also want to figure out how, I mean, they're a part
Because
of.
ultimately, that's what Connect Free funds, is new water accounts, new
Yes,
wastewater
and it's
accounts.
explicit, my understanding within the ordinance, that it is supposed to be for the benefit of the utilities, that it gets them more wastewater accounts. I'm happy to make the rhetorical argument, for sure. But I also, it's really important to me that we continue to have money for 9% LIHTCs for the foreseeable future. And so hopefully that's part of what the discussion will be about in August when that comes forward.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Eastman. Commissioner Book.
We're going to wait, Mr. Mayor, until we were at member comment. And that's
Okay.
something that kind of dovetailed
Okay.
with this affordable housing discussion.
Very good. If you'll hit your button again, that way I'll-
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Chestnut.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is for Mr. Harris. Recently, Congress passed a new Affordable Housing Act. Will you be bringing information? I don't know if you've received any information on it yet, but will you be making a presentation to us sometime in the very near future?
I can definitely do that. There's no plan to do it at this point, but if you want us to bring back some information about that new bill.
I'd just like to know how we're going to be impacted by
Yeah,
that
so-
legislation.
Okay, so I can tell you a little bit about what I know about the bill. There's several things that I think is applicable to our local jurisdiction. Manufactured home is making a return. And so in that bill, it talks about being more flexible in our zoning opportunities for manufactured homes, also providing support around manufactured homes. As it relates to our federal allocation of CDBG, CDBG has typically been used as a preservation opportunity, so to preserve housing units. Now they're looking at allowing CDBG to use for new construction. Usually we use home for new construction. The other one is not allowing.
Will they be increasing the amount allocated to the CDBG?
I didn't see that in the bill to where they're going to increase that amount, but just allow a little bit more flexibility.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
So if you would kind of maybe make that part of the discussion that we have on August 27th.
Okay.
If we get a
Okay.
little
Oh,
fleshed
good.
out
We can
a
add
little
that.
more.
Good, good.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioner Chestnut.
Thank you. I think the manager wanted to say
Yeah,
something.
Mr. Manager.
Well, Commissioner Chestnut beat me to the punch. She must have been on the same wavelength.
Oh,
Mr. Harris and I were just talking about the road to housing bill and how and some of the changes to the home allowances. So I was going to suggest the same. The other thing I think we'll talk about on the 27th is we've had a number of IZ projects coming in, and I think we have one that is towards the tail end of a fee in lieu. So we'll have that, and that'll be another potential discussion for a funding source, and we have probably some policy discussion we'll have with you all. Probably not on the 27th, but a subsequent about IZ in general. But that's certainly another funding source that we'll probably talk a little bit about on that meeting as well. So.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Manager. And yeah, as we move forward, we went through a period there where we had traditional sources and we had ARPA source, and we did a lot with the ARPA money. But now we need to find other sources and hopefully dedicated sources that just become part of what we do. And we need to have the conversation about that. But on the 27th, I would hope that we have a broad-reaching discussion about affordable housing and all the parts that we play in that. Commissioner Engel, is this a larger member comment, or is it to this issue? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Duncan Walker. Yeah. 7, 8, they're very similar numbers.
It's general,
Okay, gotcha. All right, so Madam Clerk.
Member comment?
All right, so before we go any farther, I wanted to do this at the beginning of the meeting and did not, but here we are at member comment. One of our number has a birthday today. I'm not going to ask you all to sing, but I do want to recognize Commissioner Chestnut.
thank you. Thank you, thank you. Saturday, thank you.
Saturday,
Thank you,
yes.
thank you. I'll be 16.
There you go. All right. All right.
Thank you.
I thought you were a solid 18, but I apologize. All right, Commissioner Book.
Kind of dovetailing with this affordable housing, the National League of Cities did just publish some information about that bill. So that'll be a good resource for us, and they put it out what it means for municipalities. I haven't read it its entirety. I'm not qualified to speak on it, but it'll be good for that discussion. When we're talking about, you talk about the unique funding sources and other ways that we get money. Most of, in fact, I think everybody here on the dais has attended some of the Alachua Habitat for Humanity ribbon cuttings, dirt throwings, groundbreakings, and all those things. So I just happened to be at the one today, and so I'll just pass the flyer. And why it's important is because this is the City of Gainesville providing property, and as Director Harris and Manager Lewis spoke today at that, we provide direct ship funds through this. So it's federal pass-through funds specifically for this house in Southeast Gainesville. It's 4, 2.5, so it's pretty big. We had 4 children, and a lot of people attended, and the main partner who built it was the Alachua Women's Build. Is that right, Ms. Mander, out there? So this is one where we have done, and so I asked their leadership, hey, how many homes have you built in about the last 3 years? And I really was figuring that out because that's kind of when we had a new iteration of the commission, and they were doing some quick math, and it was well over 30 homes. And I said, how many has the city been involved in? And they said, just about all of them. So they're going to, I said, boy, I'd really like to see that specifically. So they'll probably provide us that in the future. So this is home 198. It would not surprise me if before the end of this calendar year, the city of Gainesville is involved in Alachua Habitat for Humanity home 200, or right around the corner. So that was just an important note for us. Commissioner Engel often talks about using local workforce and training local workforce and career and technical education, which is really critical. So I just had a question, which I had already I prompted the city manager and the clerk about this to talk about just a quick update, knowing we would probably not be speaking very long today on both the intern program and Gainesville Opportunity Center and where we're at for those two things. So I don't know who would speak, but just an update I thought might be important for us. And this is local workforce and developing the workforce and really trying to be an employer for all populations and get them out there. So
I can happily give an update on the intern program. I have spoken at length with University of Florida Graham Center and Santa Fe College. The Graham Center has been able to pledge some monies toward an intern per semester. It is not the full cost of what an intern would be. And Santa Fe is still, they've been in some transition, so they're still getting back to me. So, we are, as we know, in a difficult budget year, so we would still have to find funding to bring interns to, for you all. So we're still in process.
Very good.
Thank you.
Pretty good. Thank you, Madam
Someone, Mr. Mander, speak to Gainesville Opportunity.
Mr. Mayor, so we have been in conversation with the GOC. We have been working through several of the sort of legal components, which I think largely we've been able to resolve. We had provided a couple of potential position, duties for 2 GOC members, and GOC kind of responded they didn't feel like those were necessarily a good fit, and so we're still working through that to try to find some opportunities for placing a few of their members. But otherwise, I think that's largely the update that I have.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So for the intern, these are 2 separate programs that both involve the way we develop workforce and what we do as a city as a good employer. So for the intern program, I know the Bob Graham Center is the one who's pledged part of the money, so that's good, and look forward to a further update. And for the Gainesville Opportunity Center, those are folks in our community who have chronic mental illness but are certainly employable. So it has some unique aspects of working with a population that also wants to get out there. And so I really, I continue to look forward to hearing, and hopefully we can make both of these happen. I know on the internship side, that's just great for our youth and great for the city. On the Gainesville Opportunity Center side, that's great for a population that often may struggle with challenges. So thank you. Thank you both. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Buck. Commissioner Duncan Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Had a really great time with the people from the community out at the East Gainesville listening session and update last night. We had about 176 people, I think, staff reported. They came out. I couldn't even find a parking space when I got there. We love those kind of problems. But we want to extend a very special thank you to staff. Thank you, Manager Persons, for making staff accessible. I was so proud of the way that not only we showed up, but the way that we engaged. I feel like what we did in terms of our piece last night was incredible. Many of you know that we pulled in Commissioner King Cornell from the county to have a discussion about East Gainesville. I've been fielding a lot of phone calls about 15th Street and other things, and so it made sense for us to come together in one setting last night and have a great, robust conversation. We did it in two different ways. So we started out with the county over in the main sanctuary at First Missionary Baptist Church, a very traditional presentation, and a Q&A session afterward. And then we broke out, went over into the old sanctuary, and we had, for the city conversation, 5 different tables where we covered different topics to include housing, youth services, economic development and mobility, infrastructure and appearance, and public safety. We had moderators from the community that were coupled with staff. And I really think that community members got a lot out of that because they could engage in a very personal and interactive way with someone who was there as a neutral person to curate the conversation, but then staff, the experts, were right there to field questions. I've been getting a lot of great feedback. I want to say thank you to the county for coming in and being responsive to the people in East Gainesville. I plan on having more meetings that are similar because we collected great data last night. I said to the people last night, and I maintain this, they were not talking into a vacuum. And so I have an idea. When staff completes their synthesis of this data, which is the next step in this, and after a few more community meetings, I will come to you with a presentation and a motion. But I look forward to many more conversations, and I say thank you to the people that turned out. You were truly the highlight of the evening. It was a really robust and lively conversation, as you can imagine. But I'm really grateful to all the folks who stepped out. And big kudos to the Office of Governmental Affairs and Community Relations, who pulled this thing together seamlessly, worked with me seamlessly. Thank you again, Manager Andrews, for allowing them to do that. They really shined. As we know, when we talk about community engagement and what the community expects from us, what they did last night was really what we want to see. So I'm very excited to receive their report, or what it is they're going to bring to us. I guess, when are they bringing their plan to us? Do we know? We don't? Okay. Well, whenever they bring that plan forward, I'm so excited because if what we saw last night was a precursor to what we can expect, I think that we will begin to chip away at and resolve a lot of those community engagement issues that we hear our neighbors discussing. It was absolutely phenomenal. Thank you to the individuals, John Alexander, Mike Powell, and you guys' team. You guys were absolutely phenomenal. I can't sing your praises enough. Thank you. Thank you also to Pastor Blue, who made it possible. He had an entire staff there for us, probably a team of about 10 people that were there on AV, on parking, on cleanup. Absolutely stellar. So thank you to everybody who was involved. We look forward to the next meeting that is to be announced. I do have one more question for staff. I fielded a phone call from a constituent last night who was asking about cooling at Depot Park. Apparently, there have been people that have been going into the restrooms in different parks, and especially recently when we've had temperatures of 100 degrees. People are really hot in our facilities. So I'm curious if staff, is aware or has heard or fielded any complaints. If so, do we have any ideas about how we can address that? Because I know that I would be concerned for any type of liability issue that we could face if somebody goes into our bathrooms and faints, collapses, has an episode because it's too hot. So there are two people now that I've heard from. One is recently, as last night, where we had a conversation about heat at Depot Park, but it made me think about everywhere else.
So nothing's come up to my level, but we can certainly get some more information, bring it back. I know last year during the summertime, I think the commission had a little bit of discussion, and I know it's been part of Dr. Zhu's presentation about the cooling centers and which facilities we have where folks can come in. It's usually more, I think Cone Park Library is a cooling center, some of our community centers. We can bring that back, maybe send that to you all and bring back some information if we've heard any complaints. I haven't heard any, but certainly Depot Park staff may have more information.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, interim manager persons. I would greatly be interested in that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that report on yesterday evening. I know everybody was interested in that. Thank you, Commissioner Duncan Walker. Commissioner Chestnut, you had something
Yes,
on
just
that.
on that point, Commissioner Duncan Walker, you talked about governmental affairs and a plan. Are you thinking, referring to governmental affairs to bring a report to us similar to what other departments do in terms of presenting an update on their departments? Okay.
Really, Commissioner, it's my understanding that they have a community engagement plan.
Okay, all right.
That they're bringing to us at some point.
That's right. I think we already have that in the hopper in terms of for a meeting to place that update on.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Chestnut. Commissioner Eastman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm excited on August to start talking about some of the questions on affordable housing, and I'm interested kind of in that same vein of looking at future GPC meetings and kind of discussing in a similar vein, not final ordinances that are before us or policies that are kind of getting sign off, but the ability to sort of discuss sort of ongoing priorities and scheduling those out. One of which is something that was brought up in April. We talked about how 4 or 5 months we might revisit it. I was curious about just to ask broadly, where are we on the arts and public places, review? There was about 2 or 3 different items that were in there. Do we have any updates on that at the moment?
Mr. Singleton?
Good afternoon, Brian Singleton, Interim Chief Operating Officer. You're referring to the Arts Trust and the Arts and Public Places, or the Arts Loan program?
Not the arts loan, the arts and public places. The GPC meeting we discussed in April.
Okay. I do not have a full update on that at this point in time. I do know the team is actively discussing with the Arts Trust on that, but I can report back on where we're at specifically. Part of that was art incentive for development. We do have some language in the code already as well, so we can dust that off and get that to you as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to schedule something. We talked about 4 or 5 months, maybe something in September, just to, even if things aren't fully done, just to kind of get an update on where we are with that process. And similarly, on the zero waste implementation, we're currently, July 1st, we started implementation of our zero waste ordinance.
Correct. July 1st, we started active enforcement of the zero waste ordinance, I should say. We had been in education mode for the past, since it was adopted, but notices have started going out about violations, and businesses and complexes have been working with the haulers to come in alignment with our ordinances.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to get an update on that. Maybe maybe late September 24th or sometime in September as well. Just to hear from our Commissioner Willits had a great sit down where he brought some of the zero waste staff together and really gave some updates that I was not aware of, and potential challenges, things that I think would be nice for the commission to sort of chew on as a whole, if that would be at all possible. But
we did get some direction from the commission to bring back some actual ordinance changes. Those should be forthcoming within the next couple of months. We also got some direction to come back to y'all before the end of the calendar year to discuss food waste a little bit more. So we can definitely give an update on that enforcement and the zero waste ordinance at that time.
At that time?
Yes.
You said before the end of the calendar year?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't think that everything's quite ready to talk about in the next 2 or 3 months potentially?
I would be hesitant to, since we started, 3 weeks ago, I would be hesitant to try and give a full update with only a couple months of data. So I would prefer to push it more towards the end of the calendar year.
All right, that's fine.
Well, then, let's try to build one of our GPCs over sometime this fall into a waste/food waste general update, so we can be targeted in thinking about that issue on that date.
Yeah.
Madam Clerk, Mr. Manager, as we develop GPCs, let's do that. And let's try to make the 26th as specific as possible to affordable housing. August 26th, so that I like it when we can do, even if it's multiple items, one train of thought at a time for a GPC. I feel like that moves us in a good direction.
Mr. Mayor, to that point, we do have a number of, Mr. Singleton and Mr. Hilliard and I were meeting this week, and we will have a number of land development, related code referrals that the commission has made that are going to be coming forward between now and the end of the year. And so if that's the desire from the commission to try to group some of those together, like we can try to identify what the most appropriate GPC is and just try to, keep those all. So that way y'all kind of keep on the same train.
That certainly works for me. I'm anxious to get some of those back and get moving. So.
Yeah, but speaking of which, in terms of the process of GPCs, it would be helpful for me to see sort of what we're thinking for GPCs. If there's GPCs where we don't have things on there, potentially, there's a number of, commissioner priorities that I think would be interesting to hear from. But if there's things that are specific, like we really want to hear your feedback on this specific land development code update, just kind of getting a calendar looking forward. And so that we're kind of we are as a body determining, what priorities do we want to hear and what do we want to hear back from staff at these particular meetings, while leaving the city commission for kind of final update for approvals of ordinances or in department updates at that point. And so if we could get some kind of calendar back, maybe like a 1 or 2 month rolling calendar, just so we can get an idea of where things are going, that would help me quite a bit.
So we used to keep at least a quarterly calendar going forward for GPC, and that would be useful, so we can kind of target. If I have something that I'm working on that is in the mode of whatever a day's theme is, I can lead it toward then. And again, I can't remember if we had an annual or that we kept moving, or if it was a quarterly.
Mr. Mayor, it was a quarterly calendar that was based on the policy research program.
Right.
So we, when that program went away, that quarterly calendar from my office went away, but I can certainly work with the city manager's office to put something together moving forward.
Very good, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Willits.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a few things. One, Mr. Manager, regarding cooling centers, when you bring back that, can you bring us back that the county climate vulnerability assessment, pages 7 through 12? It specifically deals with that. And so I think sometimes that, now that's 3 years old, it gets lost. And if we can bring that right back into the conversation as one of those resources, so we don't have to recreate the wheel. Thank you. And then, so thank you, Commissioner Eastman. We did have a meeting where we talked a little bit about the solid waste, and some of these updates and some of them are rolling. And so when they come out to GPC in the future, that'll be great. Because at that meeting, I thought this is the kind of thing where we probably should have had a committee. Looking backwards, knowing, I know Mr. Mayor, the current system and structures, we don't have a bunch of committees. That was previous commission did, but probably knowing the difficulty of the big master solid waste contract, the fact that it started years ago, had a problem, went forward, trying to figure it out, still in the middle of implementation. I suspect we should have kept a committee so that some commissioners could hear a little more frequently, get the word out. I'm not going to advocate right now that we need to go back to that full committee system, real fleshed out. But looking backwards, because that is something that had so many changes, And you know, ups and downs, pitfalls of that big contract. At different points, it may have been a little more useful, or to Commissioner Eastman's point, somehow make sure our GPCs are getting some of that in there. So I don't know, it's just a feeling.
So we don't, without going to a full-fledged committee system, we could certainly create an ad hoc committee.
So I want to just throw that out there, and I don't know if it's now is the right time about solid waste. You know, looking backwards, a year ago probably would have been a good time because we were still feeling out a bunch of both the zero waste kind of stuff, but also this new solid waste, and in the middle of having to change solid waste over to the trash fee over to property tax bill. Even though it's very quick, that probably would have been a perfect place for a committee to just, for commissioners to be told and to understand it, so that staff says, oh, we're having trouble communicating this to, you know, 3 commissioners, we're probably gonna have trouble communicating it to 7 or whatever. Not that they're having trouble, we're having trouble understanding it. So anyways, I just want to bring that up as part of the kind of conversation going forward. I don't have real strong opinions one way or the other. Well, I might, but I'm not going to dump them in here. But along the lines of that is same way as the joint climate and water committee with the county. I feel like it's not cutting it about what can we do in this city to continue moving forward. I love our updates from Dr. Zhu, but I feel like we are not. It's usually just an update, and it's not brainstorming and kicking around and looking at some best practices and having the commission interact in that space a little bit. It's harder because we don't control GRU, but if there is stuff around climate or about resiliency or about energy efficiency, water, stormwater, just all these kind of pieces of it, I don't know, maybe that's a thing where a committee would be in the future. I'm just throwing that idea out there. Because the joint one with the county, it's lots of reports. No one is making policy recommendations kind of back to it. I don't remember the last time that joint committee, our members brought back a policy recommendation or really even a conversation, I think. So kicking around that idea. Last thing, I do have a, and I can't remember if it was already sent to everybody, but Mr. Manager, you wrote a 427 memo to be about neighborhood parking. I don't think it was distributed to the whole commission. I can't remember, but I would like it distributed, the neighborhood parking permit issue. If you can send it out, and I would like to schedule for either a GPC, probably a GPC to talk about it, but specifically with a plan. And so what I'm going to make a motion here in a minute, but neighborhood parking, mostly around the university. We charge for on-street parking. This was many, many years that it's been in existence, but the current data says that 83% of those permits go to renters in the local area, 13% go to UF Greek, because sometimes they need to be close to their Greek houses just during a time of day, not necessarily that they live there. And then 4% go to owner-occupied housing, the residents of those houses. But we charge a dramatically different rate. The rate is just about double for renters as it is to owner-occupied. Because 4% is owner-occupied, that is a very small number. But I really want to equalize these in a revenue-neutral way. Because to me, it's not about the money, but it is about controlling parking, some sense of order and protecting enough spaces so that those neighborhoods continue to function. In the time period when this was established, we have added thousands of renter students there. So I just feel like the previous version of this is perhaps outdated, so I want to have this as a full conversation. But I also want to be prepared, so my motion is going to be, I move that we direct staff to bring back a way, I don't know if it's an ordinance or if it's merely, I think it is, it might be ordinance but at least it's in the list, the Appendix A, yes. But to bring back, to the best of our ability, a revenue-neutral equalization between the permits that are sold to homesteaded property applicants versus non-homesteaded, i.e. renters, and the neighborhood parking permit system.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment on this, Madam Clerk?
Public comment.
Okay. Any other layout? I don't think there are any lights. Commissioner Book.
I just, Commissioner Woods, thank you for that. Can you just explain the motion a little bit more? I don't think I was really grasping it.
Sure. Because it will be something that would have to be changed, I believe in I forget if the dollar amounts are in the ordinance or in the appendix. But literally to say, I would like to be able to park here for the whole year. a renter pays $238 and a homesteaded homeowner pays $119. So the person going to school, renting, we charge twice as much. I think this is based on an idea from the past about who needs to park in these zones. And so it's just common, today is a little different. So because that would have to change, by revenue neutral, I mean that homestead would pay more, renters would pay less. You take the whole revenue for the year, divide by currently the percentages, you come out to a revenue neutral. This is not designed to get extra revenue. It is not designed to bring in less revenue neutral. But that's a whole conversation, and we would see what those numbers would look like. I'm unclear whether you change the ordinance or merely the appendix. But we're going into a budget cycle, so that's why I want clear direction, because I realize, we don't have to wait any longer than this. This could be done, if it's revenue neutral, could be done for this year's budget going forward. Is that enough of a?
Yeah, I think I understand it, but so we're actually telling them, hey, come back with something that makes it equal.
And then we would
determine how they might be able to do that.
Yeah, and then we would vote on it. There's a memo that kind of explains how many of these, give some bar charts. I received that memo because I asked for some information, so they also have some quick at fingertips to send out to everybody as well.
Yeah, this would be one that would definitely, because it's just coming forward the first time. Is Mr. Manager, I know you have some contextual information that would be important for me to, at least for myself, to understand it. But then with this one would be one that there's got to be public engagement, right? Because it impacts the communities, specifically all around the university area. So thank you for that.
Mr. Singleton?
The fees, I believe, are in Appendix A, and that does require an ordinance change, just for the record.
But we change Appendix A every single year. Oh, no, it increases every 2 years.
Every other year. But we do some off-cycle changes.
And we can approach Appendix A at any point during
Correct.
the year that the ordinance is required. So.
We were actually talking about the on-street parking, the permits, earlier this week as well. We are well below market when it comes to our neighborhood parking decal program versus the adjacent property owners and the university. So we were going to bring back an item to have that discussion with the commission about adjusting more closely to the market. So we would be happy to bring this information back along with some other information about adjusting rates more in line with the market.
Okay. And that needs to be after September so that there will be students here if they want to weigh in on it.
The decals have already been sold, are on sale for the next calendar year. So it would not be something we could implement immediately.
All right. Any other comment on that particular item? Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Commissioner Chestnut, did you have
Thank
something?
you, yes. I have a note on my calendar that we were to invite the library and the Children's Trust for this meeting, July 23rd. What were they going to bring to us? They're going to discuss the property tax?
I think you're right.
Yeah, but so anyway, I wrote it on the calendar, but I was just trying to find out what happened there. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I may be responsible for that.
Oh, okay.
But I'll get with the clerk and we'll get with them.
All right, thank you.
And as we get closer to the end of one election season, we can certainly focus more directly on the next election season, which is when Amendment 3 comes around. So, okay, Mr. Manager, did you have anything else to add there?
I do, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I had two quick things I wanted to let the commission know. The first is we have all of your the special assessments, the non-ad valorem special assessments. We have web pages for all of those. They're under the Department of Financial Services. We can send you all a link in case you get any questions from folks as we get closer to October. It's got all the information for solid waste, fire, and stormwater. So it's a good resource, and staff from Public Works and Fire worked a lot with communication staff to get that those up and running. The other thing I wanted to mention is next Thursday on July 30th, the school board is set to discuss Citizens Field. We've been discussing and coordinating still with school board staff on aspects of Citizens Field where the city is. My understanding is that they'll have a discussion about that. They'll get an update from both the environmental consultant that the school board has, who's doing a little bit more of the due diligence on the Citizens Field site, as well as getting an update on some of the initial work that their consultant has done in terms of the previous motion, which was to explore some feasibility and some stadium design concepts for the other sites they mentioned. I think Citizens Field was on that. That'll be, I think there's some information that that'll be discussed and shown at that meeting, and so we're definitely going to plan to follow along, and wanted to raise that to the commission's attention.
Very good.
Is that a 6 o'clock meeting? It's not during the day?
It's not. I don't believe so. I think it's there. It's a big agenda from what I've gathered. I think it's either 5 or 5:30 is my understanding.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. Commissioner Willits.
Sorry, I forgot kind of one announcement. Since I forgot we're not meeting next Thursday. Next Thursday at 6 p.m. At the Cotton Club Advisory Board and Committee's meet and greet or appreciation. Just want to remind other commissioners that it's going on. It's an opportunity. All of our advisory board members have been invited, I believe. I'm going to hopefully do some more inviting. Something I've wanted to do for a long time, so it's going to happen. And an opportunity, hopefully they will see there, and some cross-pollination, but just make sure it's on your calendar, 6 p.m. I think it's like, I don't know, punch and cookies and, thanking them, and because some of them I know I haven't met in person if they've been appointed in the last year. So that's just, I want to throw it out there. And kudos to staff for the website for solid waste. I had to look at it a lot in the past couple of years, and that is a website that really helps detail stuff, and they've just kept up with it. So Mr. Manager, your whole team, I don't know who was leading on it, more on the communication side or the solid waste, but it's something that I think we've done a real good service to our community to let them know what's going on, and then, because it is a very interesting and detail-filled, situation. So that's, yeah. Anyways, it was really great. I want to make sure that I thank you, thanked everybody in person. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Willits. And if there's no objection to this, then Madam Clerk, would you please put an item on the August 6th agenda to discuss a couple of ad hoc committees, and I will ask you all to think about whether or not you would like to serve on them. A solid waste committee and an environmental resiliency committee, and let's and how we might who might want to serve on them and what the details of those might be. That gives us a couple weeks to think about it. Mr. Attorney, did you have a?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I don't interrupt. I just wanted to bring up, I think we all received the communication from Florida Carry this week regarding their allegation that there was some preemptive matters in our code regarding gun possession, ammunition storage, and so forth. And I think given looking forward at our calendar, I think the next regular meeting is August 6th, and after that it's a month later. In consultation with the manager's office, we would ask maybe that you give us direction to continue to look into that, and if necessary, if we determine it's necessary, to initiate a petition for the plan board. The section they cite is in our land development code. So just if it's necessary that we suggest some amendments to initiate that process so that it can be underway when we have ensuing meetings. It'll be a longer process than most code sections because, again, having to go through the plan board.
Very good, thank you. Is this to that, or?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, I was just going to make that motion, and I could just say, I move to allow the city attorney to look at our carry laws and make any amendments that they would like to recommend.
Our laws as they pertain to carry.
Our laws as they pertain to open carry in the city of Gainesville.
Second.
All right, motion second. Is there any public comment, Madam Clerk?
No public comment.
Okay. Seeing no other lights, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. I will certainly have lots to say about that when we get there, but not today. Okay, seeing no other lights, thank you all for a very productive, very brief meeting. Thank you. We are adjourned.